This
Hello and welcome
conference will
to
now
our
be recorded.
Hello. My name is Larry Dorr, Chief Financial Officer and Deputy City Manager at City of Westminster. Today, joining me are Tammy Hitchens, Finance Director, and John Hall, Director of Economic Development Department. We want to give folks some information on things we're doing related to the COVID public health crisis and how the city is responding and in innovative ways to put the community in the best position possible following the end of this public health crisis. We're doing a few things. We're first on a hiring freeze as a city in order to save money and in anticipation of a drop in revenues. And we're doing other things to both increase or bolster the city's revenues and also contain our costs. So first, I'd like to ask John Hall to describe the city's WestyRISE business grant process, what it will do, and how it will bolster the city's economy going forward. Mr. Hall?
Well, thank you, Larry. And I think as everyone is aware, in order to continue to fund necessary services, we've got to maintain a strong and viable foundation of businesses that contribute to our tax base. At the same time, these businesses are part of the fabric of our community, and their employees are our neighbors and friends. So as the stay-at-home orders were implemented, the impact on our business community was rapid and intense. As everyone is aware, bars and restaurants were ordered to close in mid-March, and not long after, many other businesses were ordered to close or substantially curtail their operations. This had an impact not only on our businesses, but our workers and households as well. So in order to assist these businesses and sustain our tax base, City Council allocated $1.5 million to the WestyRISE Business Grant Program. And the program is designed to provide limited duration assistance to small businesses in the form of grants that are intended to help with rent payments. So the program is a short-term financial bridge until funds through the federal assistance programs become more readily available. In general, the program provides a maximum benefit of $7,500 or 50% of 2 months' rent, whichever is less. More information on the program can be found at the city's economic development website, westminstereconomicdevelopment.org. Already seeing a lot of popularity and I would say a great deal of need from the business community. We launched the program yesterday, Monday the 13th, and in the first hour we received 95 applications, which clearly speaks to the overwhelming need that currently exists within our small business community. Larry, I'll throw it back to you and we can talk about it some more if you'd like.
Yeah, John, just a follow-up question. What's the definition of a small business? What size business qualifies for receiving this grant in Westminster?
So in Westminster, roughly 90% of our businesses have 50 employees or less, which is the definition we use for small business in our city. So our economy, our local economy, especially the consumer sector, is really driven by small businesses.
Terrific. And the goal of the city is to get these funds in the hand of small businesses sooner than they might be able to see from the state or federal government. And joining us is Tammy Hitchens, Westminster Finance Director, who will be responsible for dispersing funds and getting money in the hands of small business owners. Tammy, could you describe that process and the steps involved in it for the business owners and when they might see these funds?
So the economic development staff as well as the finance staff has worked really hard to try to expedite these checks going out to our small businesses. And we've set up what we feel is a pretty good process. We've actually made a few tweaks even this morning already just to make it more efficient. And we're hoping to get from the time that someone applies for it and gets approved from it, we're hoping to get the check out within a couple of weeks. We in finance, I know that John has as well. We've dedicated certain staff to be responsible for, putting our vendors into the JD Edwards system, as well as actually processing the checks. Pulled someone in from doing some other tasks to be able to focus on that, because we really truly do want to get this money out as quickly as we can to help everybody.
Thank you. John, could you talk a little bit about the city's hopes and expectations for recovery for these grant recipients? Will we be tracking, obviously, these businesses in the months and years to come in terms of the success of the program? Could you describe how you and your team will be doing that?
Sure. We do intend to try and track the number of businesses that remain open over time, their employment levels, and generally speaking, their contributions to our city and to the city's tax base. It's important that we understand our return on investment from making this $1.5 million investment in our local business community.
Fantastic. Well, this is a great collaboration between the Economic Development Department and the Finance Department. And I just want to thank you both for the work that you're doing for Westminster. I want to shift gears just a bit here and ask Tammy to describe what the city's doing related to the drop in interest rates that we've seen in terms of refinancing debts that the city has accumulated in its utilities to undertake projects. Tammy, could you describe first walk us through really briefly how a refinancing works, the goal of it, and what's on the table for Westminster?
Thank you, Larry. So we in the finance staff, we look at these things continually as far as what are interest rates doing, how long has our debt been outstanding, because even if interest rates stay the same by virtue of coming down the yield curve, and there's always opportunity to save some money. So this is a routine thing that we do. We look at it, but knowing that the interest rates have dropped so much, we are taking a look, and in fact, we went to City Council last night, who approved by an emergency ordinance that we would be able to refinance some debt that we had issued in 2010 for the utility fund. We have about $18 million remaining in par value that we have to pay off. And essentially the way a refinancing works is not unsimilar to if you refinance your house, meaning that what will happen is we will go to the market, we will sell new bonds. The city has always had a philosophy of never extending the duration of those bonds, and so they would be paid off at the same time as they would have if we hadn't refinanced. And they would be, the only difference is that we're saving about $3.5 million by doing so. The proceeds from the new bond issue actually pays off the old bond issue. And in the end, we still have the same assets that we built or constructed with those original proceeds. And like I said earlier, we just end up having to pay less money over the remaining term of the bonds. And in this particular case, we're looking at about $3.5 million, and that will ultimately impact the amount that the ratepayers have to pay in our utility fund.
Great, thank you. Yes, we hope to get these closed as soon as possible in the event that interest rates might come up just a little bit, and I think they have, just a tiny, but still a great environment. And John, I wonder if you could describe if you think that small businesses and maybe even some medium-sized businesses in the Westminster economy might have an opportunity to take advantage of this low interest rate environment and either negotiate or renegotiate some of the terms that those businesses may have for leased equipment, leased facilities, et cetera.
Well, we certainly hope that's the case, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that small and medium-sized businesses have those strong relationships with lending institutions so they can initiate those conversations. Some of them have established relationships, some of them don't. As everyone is probably aware, our banks and other financial institutions are a bit stressed right now as well. But we think over time, as the big initial need works its way through the system, that there'll be opportunities for our small and medium-sized businesses to have those conversations with their lenders as well.
Good, and I think this is very timely in terms of a lot of folks in all walks of life are feeling a little bit of helplessness in terms of their financial control and financial destiny. And these are a few things that we at City of Westminster are doing. We're trying to reduce our debt, interest rates. We're trying to reduce our expenses. We're taking advantages and creating some local programs to inject resources into the Westminster economy. So there are some things that we can all do to try to position ourselves as best as possible given the circumstances for the future. So again, what we wanted to try to touch on today is some of the things we're doing at the city to reduce some expenses, to hopefully bolster some revenues. We think that we're going to see a good return on our investment from the WestyRISE business grant program, not just in terms of the sales tax that we can support, but hopefully in retaining and maybe even growing jobs in the Westminster community. So I want to thank you for joining us today. We will be continuing this series of blogs that describe the financial condition of the city and the Westminster community going forward. So thanks again for your attention, and please avail yourself to our resources online at the city's website. And I also want to thank John Hall and Tammy Hitchens from our city team, executive leadership team that is bringing these resources and getting funds hopefully on the streets as fast as possible. So thanks so much for tuning in, and see you again.